RADS News Ottawa. I'm Megan Burns. Tonight we have an exclusive interview with Barbara Salters, political advocate responsible for implementing the mandatory educational program in legal sex work institutions. She has received major backlash for supporting and initiating this program. Joining Salter at her office is RADS's own Elizabeth Brown. Elizabeth?
Thanks, Megan. I'm here at the office of Barbara Salters, the political advocate who is responsible for promoting the mandatory educational program for employees of legal sex work institutions. Also joining us today is Candace Fern, retired exotic dancer who's been by Salter's side throughout the announcement of this initiative. When referring to legal sex work institutions, we are of course referring to exotic dancing, pornography, modeling or acting, and sexual telephone operators. Candace, Barbara, thank you for having RADS News.
I'm so excited to be here. It's a pleasure to have you here, Elizabeth. Candace and I have been working very hard to ensure that this program is implemented in Canada.
The term sex worker, as unfortunately many people are unaware, was developed in the early 80s by Carol Lay, who was a sex workers' rights advocate. It was her hope that this word, sex worker, would destigmatize the profession of accepting money for sexual goods. Candace, can you offer our viewers a more modern and expanded definition of the word?
I'm glad you asked, Elizabeth. You see, sex work is generally defined as the exchange of goods and money for sexual services. So this can be happening on a regular or an occasional basis, and it can involve adults, males and females, transgendered people, youth, and oftentimes, unfortunately, even children. The sex workers may or may not define this activity as income generating. If sex workers are working in legal institutions in Canada, this is a legal profession as defined by the Canadian government, and therefore we deserve the same rights and freedoms as all the other workers in Canada.
I'm sure many Canadian citizens would agree with you there, Candace. Now, Barbara, what can you tell our viewers about the details of your hopeful project?
Well, this educational program has three components. The first would be a revision of the laws pertaining to legal sex institutions. Many of the employers are not aware of their rights or the laws protecting them. Secondly, there is a huge health and safety concern. Information about physical, sexual, and verbal assault would be provided. This information would include how to deal with this assault, what this assault entails, and how the assault should be handled in these places of work. As for the health component, we would also have information on STD and STI testing, including methods of transmission and signs and symptoms. Lastly, we would want to provide these employees with resources, letting them know where local clinics that have this testing would be located, as well as community health centers and legal aid centers.
Now, Barbara, what would you say to citizens who are complaining that this program will be an excessive use of taxpayers' money for people who are knowingly entering a very risky profession?
Well, legal sex work is a very risky profession, and sex workers have a higher chance of being abused physically, sexually, and verbally. They also have a higher incidence of contracting STIs and STDs. But sex work is a legal profession in the Canadian labour force, and those sex workers deserve the same rights as every other workers in Canada.
Now, Candace, what would you say to the owners who are claiming that this is an unfair responsibility placed on them?
Well, you know, this program is really no different than the responsibility that's placed on owners of any other workplace. Many sex workers feel, and myself included, that our well-being and our health concerns just aren't relevant because we do engage in this risky profession. And this could be why incidents of rape, sexual assault, and abuse are just so high and they go unreported.
The burning question here seems to be, how effective will this program truly be at maintaining and improving the health and safety of sex workers in legal institutions? Barbara, can you comment on this?
Well, this program will really act as a tool to legitimize the health and safety concerns of those legal sex workers.
Knowledge is power, and we want to empower these sex workers so that they can have the tools to combat this difficult working environment.
The message here seems to be inequality, underlining health and safety of Canadian workers. Barbara, Candace, thank you for your time. I'm Elizabeth Brown, reporting for RADS News Ottawa. Back to you, Megan.
Thanks, Elizabeth. This program seems to have a lot of powerful influence behind it. Stay tuned for updates in the coming weeks. And after the break, on a more serious note, an ice cream truck overturns on Laurier Avenue. Stay tuned for the scoop.